I'd like to welcome you to the Secord Elementary School Student Accommodation Public Meeting. In order to start us off in a good way, I would like to commence this meeting with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and the Inuit peoples, Miigwech. At this point, I would like to engage everyone who is in the meeting with just some brief introductions. And as I said, I'm Nadira Prasad. I'm the superintendent for Secord. We have Michelle Arts, our trustee for Ward 16, and of course, the trustee for Secord Public School. Janice Chisholm, who's the principal at Secord Elementary School, as well as Shelley Lou Kim, who's here, our vice principal, who is at Secord. Giovanna Di Girolamo, who's the manager for strategy and planning. Dan Castaldo, senior manager, strategy and planning. Avinash Mani, I'm not sure if Avi is on, principal at Crescent Elementary School. Sohail Sheikh, the principal at George Webster Elementary School. David Apulser, manager for strategy and planning. Miriam Salat, the administrative liaison for LN24. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our trustee Arts, for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Nadira. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. We haven't had to do one of these accommodation reviews in Ward 16, I don't think, for a number of years, or not in my time as trustee. So it's a bit of a learning curve for me. A lot of work has gone into the analysis of what's happening at Secord. We all know that Secord is over capacity, and as many schools in the area is trending up in population. And we have some long-term plans at the board to build a new school at Secord. And to do that, we need to show the province that we are distributing students among schools and using all schools in the area to their full capacity, as well as we all know that Secord got a new portable, that there's no room for additional students. There's a lot happening in that area of the city at Danforth and Maine. So there's a lot of conversations. We are working towards bringing the student population down a little bit at Secord and making a better distribution across neighborhood schools. So we'll turn it back to staff, and thanks very much again.
Trustee Arts, thank you very much. Just before we do proceed with the substantive content for this evening, I would like to draw your attention to just some Zoom webinar etiquette in terms of how to ask questions and make comments. First off, the public meeting is being recorded for internal use. It is 1 hour in length. And for those who are on the computer and the smart device users, in order to text, you would then have to click on the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, then type your question in the window. We also have Dan, as well as Dave, who will be monitoring the chat as well as the hand signal, going forward to answer any questions. To speak, we're asking you to click your raise hand at the bottom of the screen, and the moderator, that is me, will be notified that you would like to speak. For those who are on the telephone, in order to speak, we would ask that you press *9 to request to raise your hand. When the moderator announces your turn, please press 6 to unmute yourself. Additionally, we have detailed Zoom instructions with the QR code about raising your hand in a webinar, and that's the Zoom Help Center. And lastly, with all meetings, we engage in meeting norms. For this virtual meeting norm, we ask all participants of our virtual public information meetings, everyone's expected to maintain a meeting decorum and abide by the requirements of the Board Code of Conduct, PR 585, and the Code of Online Conduct, PR 571. Discrimination and harassment will not be tolerated. We ask also that you please be concise, respectful, and courteous with your comments and questions. To ensure that everyone does have an opportunity to speak, please make one comment or ask one question. If you have more comments or questions, please raise your hand again or type your question in the Q&A box. And lastly, if you choose to speak, please minimize your background audio. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our manager for planning, Giovanna Di Girolamo.
Thank you very much, Nadira. So going to set the context a little bit in terms of why we're here. Secord Elementary School is overutilized and continues to experience accommodation pressures. The school has a total of 27 classrooms, in addition to a large porta-pack on-site providing 12 additional classroom spaces. In September 2023, Secord came in over projection by approximately 60 students. This resulted in 3 new classroom teachers being added to the school through reorganization. And in terms of space, we did need to add 1 standalone portable to the site to accommodate that additional growth that we realized when the school opened in September. Enrollment is projected to continue to grow over the long term. Reasons for this include new residential development that will come online over the next few years, along with an increase in newcomer population. A business case has been submitted to the Ministry of Education to support the need to build a new, larger replacement Secord school to accommodate not only the existing Secord students, but also that future enrollment growth. And of course, this is a longer-term solution that wouldn't, even if approved, wouldn't come into play for several years. So we're here today to talk about a solution for now, for the interim, to address the accommodation pressures that the school is currently experiencing. So going to present a lot of data during this presentation. We'll try to keep it as simple as possible, but here is a bar chart that illustrates the current situation at Secord Elementary School. So you can see current enrollment at the school is 788 pupils, and it's expected to continue to grow if we don't do anything at all. And that growth gets to approximately just over 1,000 by 2029 and upwards of 1,100 by 2033. The chart also illustrates different ways of viewing capacity at this school. So this red dash line demonstrates what the building capacity is. So that's the brick and mortar building. That's 591 pupil places. But as I'm sure everyone knows, there is that porta-pack that's attached to the school. It provides 12 additional classrooms. So it takes that capacity upwards of 867 pupil places. So knowing that it's experiencing this pressure right now, we had to take certain actions immediately to provide some relief. And those actions include that portable that I mentioned previously. We did have to add 1 portable to the site for this current school year. And we recognize that portable does infringe on some of the play space at the site. We recognize the site's quite constrained. And we're here today to avoid needing any further portables. Something else we're looking at to help free up some space in the school is relocating one of the regional programs that are currently at Secord. And by doing that, we could potentially free up 2 more classrooms beginning next year. So that being said, we still need to look at solutions to deal with that growth over the next few years. So that's what I'm going to take you through over the next few slides. So one of the solutions we are looking at is to provide enrollment relief is to reassign some of the proposed residential developments in Secord's catchment to another nearby school that has space to accommodate these future students. So Secord, there's a map there. You can see Secord has a few proposed developments in its catchment. There's one development right across the street from Secord, currently under construction on Eastdale Avenue, as well as a number of developments proposed along Danforth and Dawes Road. The Dawes Road developments in particular are expected to begin occupying in 2025. And it's these developments that we're proposing to be redirected to another nearby school with space. So again, here's Secord's enrollment profile if we do nothing. We saw this chart moments ago with Secord's enrollment continuing to grow well past its capacity. And here's how Secord would look if we implemented that development redirection, specifically the developments along Dawes Road. You can see that from 2026 to 2033, some of that enrollment growth that you saw on the previous slide is tempered. However, you can see it still exceeds that capacity of Secord with its Portapac in these later years. So while it does provide some enrollment relief, it doesn't provide enough to avoid needing additional portables in the next few years. So with that said, we are looking at another accommodation solution to ensure that Secord realizes enrollment relief over the next several years. To that end, we are proposing a boundary change with Crescent Town / George Webster Elementary Schools. Specifically, we are proposing that the residential buildings located at 100, 102, 104, 106, and 108 Goodwood Park Court be relocated from the Secord D.A. Morrison catchment to the Crescent Town George Webster catchment. I should note this boundary change is intended to only affect brand new students registering to the TDSB for school. Students who live at the above addresses and are currently attending Secord or D.A. Morrison are not impacted by this proposed change. And here's a map illustrating the area that we're discussing right now. We refer to this as the impacted area. And again, it's 100, 102, 104, 106, and 108 Goodwood Park Court. And they're located just south of Crescent Town in the northeast section of the Secord boundary. You can see Secord has a fairly large boundary, and the area we're talking about is outlined, is shaded in darker blue and outlined in yellow, just south of Crescent Town. So again, here is Secord's projected enrollment if we only implemented a development redirection. Again, there's that short-term relief, but once we get to 2026, 2027, we run into the same situation, similar situation where we have enrollment well exceeding the capacity at the school. So if we just left it at the development redirection, we would probably be in the same situation we're in, looking at additional portables or other solutions. So here is a chart demonstrating the boundary change and the development redirection taken together. And you can see with this change, enrollment at Secord declines enough to remain within its building Portapac capacity, and the likelihood of needing another portable in the next 5 to 10 years is greatly diminished. And I should add that I'm not suggesting we need enrollment relief out to 10 years. We do hope that the ministry provides approval for us to begin planning for a replacement school to be built within this time frame. And that replacement school is proposed to be large enough to accommodate the Secord catchment, including all of the proposed development. But again, we do not yet have approval to proceed with that project. We're waiting for a decision from the Ministry of Education. In terms of impact on the middle school, Secord feeds into D.A. Morrison, which is a school also operating slightly above its current capacity. This chart shows D.A. Morrison's projected enrollment if we did not implement a boundary change. You can see enrollment continues to increase from 619 students in 2023 to upwards of 900 students by 2033. And here is D.A. Morrison's projected enrollment with the implementation of this proposed boundary change. Enrollment growth is tempered somewhat long-term here. However, they are still projected to experience some enrollment growth long-term. We do have some proposed solutions we're considering to address this long-term growth. This can include portables, residential redirections, possibly looking at some of the French feeder schools at D.A. Morrison. So now turning our attention to the receiving schools of this proposed boundary change. First one being Crescent Town Elementary School. It's a JK-4 school, and it's currently operating at 53% capacity with 419 students. The red line up here illustrates that its building capacity is 788 pupil places. So there is quite a bit of capacity available at the school presently and into the future. Long term, the school is expected to grow very moderately to approximately 461 students. So again, staying well below its current capacity. And if we implement the boundary change, you can see the school does see some more growth long term from 419 students today to 569 students in 2033. However, they continue to remain below capacity, with utilization staying at 72 to 74% long term. And finally, the middle school, the receiving middle school for this area is George Webster. Here is their enrollment profile without the boundary change. You can see current enrollment is 762 students, which has the school currently operating at 90% utilization. The capacity of the building is 848 pupil places, and you can see that with the red line above. Long-term enrollment is projected to decline to about 700 students by 2033. So that's the current picture at George Webster. And if we were to implement the boundary change, we do see some enrollment increases at George Webster from its current 762 pupils up to a peak of approximately 800 pupils by 2030. However, the school is not anticipated to exceed its capacity with this boundary change. It will continue to operate between 90 and 94% utilization long term. So just some other considerations I wanted to point out before we get into the questions in the chat are the associated early French immersion program. So as everyone knows, Secord currently hosts French immersion at the school. So for the impacted area, that would change for those students brand new applying to JK French immersion starting in 2025. So if you reside in that building, in one of the buildings we're proposing to change here, instead of applying to attend French immersion at Secord Elementary School, you would be applying to attend French immersion at Claire Lee Public School. Currently, French immersion flows from Secord to D.A. Morrison, whereas at Claire Lee, French immersion is through to grade 8 at that school. There's no impact in terms of secondary pathway. All French students at Secord and Secord D.A. Morrison and Claire Lee flow on to East York for secondary French. In terms of students wishing to access our middle immersion program, which begins in grade 4, that the catchment for that area, the impacted area, will be Cliffside Public School. The local feasibility team is proposing that this boundary change be phased in. So what that means is everyone who lives in the area and attending Secord or D.A. Morrison right now will not be asked to move. They can continue on to graduation. Furthermore, the local feasibility team is proposing that all siblings of current students residing in the impacted areas be allowed to register and attend Secord and or D.A. Morrison until graduation. So if there's a current student in grade 1 and a sibling starting a few years from now, as long as that sibling continues to attend either Secord or D.A. Morrison, that sibling, that younger sibling, even if they reside in one of those buildings, will be allowed to apply to Secord to keep families together. There is no impact on transportation, as the impacted area is within walking distance to both Secord Elementary School and Crescent Elementary School. And in terms of before and after care programming, there is a program offered at both schools. So all of that leads us to the recommendation we're seeking to make through this proposed change. And that recommendation is that the junior attendance area for Crescent Town Elementary School and the intermediate attendance area for George Webster Elementary School be expanded to include the portion of Secord junior attendance area south of Crescent Town Road, specifically, 100, 102, 104, 106, 108 Goodwood Park Court. And this would take, we are proposing this takes effect for all new registrants as of June 30th, 2024, meaning those brand new in the area, registering at school for the first time, this would take effect for regular programming this coming September 2024. For those applying for French programming, so specifically JK students, this would take effect for September 2025, because we're already in our French application process right now. So those applications have already been submitted to Secord for next school year. And again, just want to reiterate that the proposed staff recommendation will address legacy students, meaning siblings, that all students who reside in the portion of the Secord ES attendance area described in this recommendation that currently attend Secord and DA Morrison as of June 30th, 2024, along with their siblings, may choose to attend Secord and DA Morrison until they graduate. So in terms of an implementation plan, I touched upon this, but again, we're allowing current students and their siblings the ability to remain at Secord and DA Morrison until they graduate. For September 2024, this would impact new regular program students within the expanded Crescent Town attendance boundary to attend Crescent Town Elementary School for those in JK to grade 4 and George Webster for those in grade 5 to 8. For September 25, that's when the impact hits the French immersion program, and new French immersion program students within the expanded Crescent Town attendance boundary will be directed to Clairley for French immersion. That concludes this presentation. Just wanted to remind everyone that we do have a feedback survey that is now open. If you wanted to take out your phones and scan this barcode, it will take you right to that survey. It's also available on our TDSB review webpage, and I think we're going to put that link in the chat. And we are happy to field questions right now in this space, or if you prefer, you can send any questions or comments to accommodationreviews@tdsb.on.ca. Further steps, our local feasibility team will reconvene to review and consider feedback received from this evening's meeting and the email and survey. The local feasibility team will develop a final set of recommendations and draft a report to the Board of Trustees for approval. This report will be presented to the Planning and Priorities Committee of the Board on January 25th, 2024. This is also referred to as the P&P meeting. So it's this meeting where the public has an opportunity to depute to the board. If you wish to register a delegation, you must email governance and board services at delegates@tdsb.on.ca by Monday, January 22nd, prior to 4 p.m. For more information regarding this process, please visit, we can put a link in the chat, tdsb.on.ca/leadership/boardroom/delegations. And again, we expect the Board of Trustees to make a final decision at our regular board meeting scheduled for January 31st, 2024. Just quickly, we have a frequently asked question document prepared to help with some questions, and that's also located on our webpage, and we'll put the link in the chat for you to reference that document. And that's the conclusion of the presentation.
So I think at this point, we've reached wrap up and adjournment. However, just before you do go away, I would like to thank those who were very engaged with some very thoughtful questions for us to ponder on. To our incredibly supportive and brilliant trustee Arts, for her ongoing support and wisdom, the exemplary planning department of the TDSB, and our incredible school staff who work tirelessly to ensure that our students are safe and learning. We are looking forward, of course, to your input on the survey, as both Dan and Giovanna have emphatically stated that we do need your voice in order for us to make any necessary adjustments or amendments going forward. Good evening to each and every one of you, and this is the adjournment for the meeting. Thank you.